across the entire country, whether we're looking at towns, we're looking at cities, we're looking at even our very own suburbs. And this is a major issue. We find these vagrants all over the show. But I don't know, how many of them are genuinely people that just are vagrants who don't have a home, and they sleep under bridges, and they sleep anywhere else where it is comfortable for them, but and begging. But how many of them are actually linked to drugs or the sale of drugs?
Actually a very difficult question to analyze, because you will find that there's a split in terms of that right down the center. Are we genuinely in need, standing and begging on the street corners? Are we standing there to support our drug habit? And we found both. And there are people who are actually homeless, who sleep under the shelter of a building, and I've seen that. And then others who come in and leave, and they live elsewhere, and they are absolutely supporting their drug habits. And many times when you confront the beggar or the begging, and you're asking them, where do you come from, what do you do, and why are you here? And some of them say, you know what, we left home and we came from this place and we came from that place. And I said, why don't you go back, and what is the issues there? Now, what we also found is, that because we are a community that's so open-hearted and that we give and we won't stop giving, it perpetuates the vagrancy problem. And that's where you're going to find there's an increase in vagrants. And recently, what's been happening, like in Overport, for example, there's been a lot of new faces. You know the regular ones, and there are many of those others who are coming from the CBD, coming into the area because they know this is where they can get things. And we've identified those who are, supporting their drug habit, whether it's the Wunga or the sugars or whatever the case is. And if you search the guys, you'd find that they've got the implements with them in their pockets. And then there are other genuine ones who are working as car guards, who are also, making a living from that and sleeping under the shelter. And we know those guys also. The one day I was questioning one of the guys, I said, hey, are you buying drugs? He says, no buy, I promise you I'm not custom, I'm not whatever it is, but I smoke taka. But I don't do anything else, but I want to earn an honest living. And you get it. So again, there's such a wide split in this whole thing. How do you deal with these issues? Which is an important thing. And, that's one of the things we actually came up with at the CPF meeting, discussing how do we stop this issue. And one of the things we identified was the Don't Give campaign. So I don't know how that's going to take along with the community, because, the community sort of mindset's a little bit different. We'll complain about everything, but when you have a solution, they don't take to the
Mhm.
solution, unfortunately.
Yes. Now, consumption of drugs is one thing as far as these vagrants are concerned, but also as far as drug dealing is concerned, because sometimes, these are people that are used to actually sell drugs and to deal in drugs to people who require them.
Yeah. You've got to go to the source of the issue, and unfortunately, we're not getting those sources quick enough or fast enough. Where again, my favorite word for the morning is perpetuate, because this drug habit is perpetuated by those drug dealers who are being supported. And we mustn't only look at the vagrants who might be buying the drugs. There's people in the settled community also who are buying drugs from wherever they are. So we need to have a holistic approach and to see what's going on. And that's why we tell community, report anonymously. If you know there's a drug house, or people are selling drugs on street corners, or who are these people, give us the descriptions, and we can pass this on to authorities. But it has to be done discreetly. But people fear for their lives and say, look, if we do this, what's going to happen? So they'd rather stay complacent, stay away from it, and don't do that. But starting on the street, and I want to go back to that when we're talking about vagrants and the support of the drug habit. The more money we give, the more we're going to also perpetuate that issue. So the campaign, if you don't mind me going slightly off the topic, it's a Don't Give campaign, where you're no longer giving money to those beggars on the street corners, where we're now going to businesses to say this. We want to develop or devise a coupon system where now what has going to happen is, if somebody wants to give something to a vagrant, we're going to buy coupons from you, whether it's for milk, bread, or baked beans cans, or whatever the case might be, and we're going to give them those coupons to come to your store and get the product and carry on. So typically, me as a consumer, I'm buying those coupons, whether it's 100 rand or 50 rand, whatever it is, and you're dividing it as much as you want. And the person on the street corner say, "Here's a coupon for you. Go and get what you want to eat if you are hungry." But then again, are they genuinely hungry? Are they going to take the coupon and spend it, or are they just going to start disappearing from the area? So it's multifaceted, and there's various levels that we can explore and discuss these issues to start eliminating these problems. But I think it's so deep rooted that it's going to take generations before we even eliminate the drug dealers from our community and stop crime. So it's a hard job, and we're hard pressed to try and find the solutions for these.
Also, Mohammed, I think it's very difficult to really establish, who is a genuine vagrant, who genuinely requires assistance, and who would utilize whatever you give him, and particularly when it comes to money, and sometimes even when you give them food, they would sell it for drugs. So it's very, very difficult for anyone to establish what the real problem is, or who the vagrant really is, and what are his motives.
No, that is true, mate, and I don't really have an answer to that. It's like to say that there are people who are feeding in the communities and they can come and get food, but then again, the food gets thrown away. There was a report in one of the local community newspapers where people are saying, "Why are we giving the food?" And with photographic evidence, we're giving the food, and it was absolutely discarded. But if you give cash, and cash is king, so they're going to accept that cash, and they'll probably buy food somewhere along the line, or they won't buy food somewhere along the line. They'd rather support the drug habit. And there's one particular person in the area here where I am, and he's always inebriated, and then suddenly he's looking for money for food. But where did he get the money from to buy to buy substance to support his abuse? So again, it's complex. It's very, very complex. And how do you eliminate these problems? We don't have all the answers. We might have some solutions at hand, but it's about community participation and what you want to do at the end of the day to make a success, to keep your areas clean, free of drugs, free of crime. It's a terribly, terribly steep hill that we are climbing.
Well, Mohammed, I just on a lighter note, I like when you say cash is king, because I don't think many people carry cash these days anymore. And there was this one video that
Yeah,
reminds me of somebody in India was a beggar, and he produced a card
I
machine.
saw that. Yeah, we wait for a few more weeks or days or months. You're going to check our guys. They're also going to have those card machines accepting debit cards. Please give us a donation, tap or swipe.
Well, Mohammed, for that, we're going to have to leave it as it. But Jazakallah, as always, for your
That's
time
actually
with
very
us
much.
here on Salam Media. We wish you well, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Appreciate
barakatuh.
it. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
Mohammed Batman Ismail with us this morning, and that is now taking us to the news in about a minute. We have got Zahid Jedward, who is standing by, but we're going to go for a quick break. We'll be back with Zahid Jedward.